What is going on, everybody? What's going on? Happy Friday Eve. Happy Friday Eve, everybody. I am Lawrence Henderson, VP of Plans and Professional Development for NAAA HR Atlanta, and we are live across LinkedIn, Facebook, and over on YouTube. Yes, I said YouTube, folks, for this conversation that is just the tip of the iceberg. And so this month, we normally have our chapter meetings and we bring in our experts in different spaces. But this total rewards conversation is going to be an amazing one. And I told y'all, tip of the iceberg. And so we have one of our volunteer leaders, a part of plans and professional development, but somebody that is an expert in this space talking about stress and all the things that we're going to work through today. And Nasir, what's up, sir?
What's going on, Brother Henderson? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
You know, if I was doing any better, it'd be a crime.
Come on. You're talking good. You're talking good.
Hey, man. Well, I'm excited to get rolling with you and just interviewing you about this topic in particular. And when you think about just tell a little bit about yourself, but the most unique way you possibly can.
Okay. So I'm a corporate mental wellness expert, which, it's one of those times where people are like, well, what is that? What does that actually mean? It basically means that I help companies to actually attract and keep highly engaged employees. I help companies reduce workplace stress, and I help them to grow or 5x plus their ROI by using mental wellness or helping them to create a culture that actually embodies mental wellness. So that's the overview. The background behind that, a person may hear that and wonder, well, how did you get into this? The long story short is I was in corporate for 20 years. During that tenure, that time, I was a business development leader, so working in BD and business development. I was also a corporate trainer and consultant, working with Fortune 500s and coming in doing leadership, employee development stuff. And then in addition to those two, I'm also a licensed mental health professional, a licensed psychotherapist. So what that means is, or why that's important is, I know the realities of the pressure of being in corporate. Even when a person says, oh, I work in corporate, people that work in corporate know that means sometimes stress. So I know the realities of that. And I also know the realities of healing and how people heal or organizations can heal. So I kind of, integrated or married those two. And, it shows up in terms of what I do with corporate mental wellness.
Man, I love that, y'all. And so here's the deal. And anybody who knows the boss out there in these streets, y'all know I like to drink my own Kool-Aid. And I tell you what, I've been in a session with this brother where and one of his things he had me do, he's like, just lean with it, rock with it. Lean with it, rock with it. And just being a support and holding space like only a person with these types of skills and credentials can do. And so, y'all, when you think about just this topic, Nasir, less stress for more success, just at a high level, what are some of the things that you're seeing in this new reality for folks?
The excellent question. The high level, the thing I'm saying is folks that even 2 years in to the pandemic, you've got a lot of folks that even though they're doing virtual or some are doing hybrid, folks are still carrying a lot of stress, and specifically busy professionals or busy HR professionals, and people still trying to figure out what balance looks like and how to still have balance while also delivering on the needs or expectations for their roles or their responsibilities. So high level at all levels of many organizations, I'm seeing people try to find a balance and dealing with stress, trying to manage it or reduce it, and kind of being challenged with it. So that's a high level what I'm seeing, with a lot of organizations.
So, and you actually got some things to run through today. And so when you think about just this topic in general, what are some key things that you want folks to really lean into from a total rewards perspective?
I think the big thing is, I like things to make sense. I like things to be simple. So sometimes I like to, in the conversation around total rewards or total reward strategy, I'll sometimes just ask people, like, what is total rewards? Like, let's pause for a second and get clear on what does that actually mean. I don't know if there's anyone in the chat, that wants to weigh in, but if we were live, then I would ask people, like, what does total rewards really mean? So if anyone is in the chat and wants to sound off or chime in, then we would love to hear your thoughts or hear your responses. As we wait for that, I'll offer something. I say that total rewards, y'all can probably see it there, is simply put, it's just the incentives, the recognitions, the rewards available to an employer to actually attract, to retain, to motivate, and to keep folks engaged. And then you see, that model there. And I like to sometimes ask the question, what makes an employer attractive to both current and prospective employees, and see what comes. So again, I don't know if anyone is watching that will want to tap in via the chat, but kind of starting and just getting clear on what is total rewards, and then asking people what makes a person want to come to a company, let alone to stay. So I always like to start with kind of setting the foundation there.
I like it, man. Yeah, and again, understanding this is on an HR platform and having this conversation, but when you think about it, just from an engagement standpoint, from a benefit standpoint, how often are you seeing employees not even knowing that these types of realities exist for them from a benefit standpoint?
All the time. Let me say how I feel it. All the time. A lot of times as employees, we're focused on the work, delivering on expectations and deliverables, and the self-care piece, or the mental wellness piece. Honestly, it becomes an afterthought for a lot of busy professionals. So sometimes folks just aren't aware of what resources are there, whether it's, EAP, ERG, perks, benefits. And then sometimes people may be aware of it, but we don't go to the extra mile to actually access it. If you go to a lot of HR professionals and say, hey, does your organization have an EAP? And 9 times out of 10, folks will say, yeah, we got an EAP. And then if you say, have you ever used it? Watch it get quiet. Because we don't always prioritize that for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it isn't normalized or incentivized. And it's a critical piece to our wellness, our longevity, our ability to show up as leaders, and to have some sustainability. So to answer your question, I say it all the time.
Man, my guy. Yeah. And something inside of there, when we think about just the idea of wellness, right? This season of life we're continuing to navigate through. Like when somebody asks you about well-being, what does that really mean?
It's one of those things where it's interesting to even ask. I'll give an answer, but I want to give context. It's interesting because it's one of those things where when you ask it, you're going to get different responses back. If you say, what does well-being or wellness look like? Or what does employee well-being and wellness look like? Some people say, I don't really know. It sounds good, but I'm not sure. Other folks say, well, it's, it's getting the massages at work, or it's, it's taking vacations in your PTO. So one is just a recognition that sometimes there isn't clarity around what it is. If a person asks me, how do you define it? I say it's the state of having a workforce that's productive, that's engaged, that's happy, and that's healthy, where the culture is one where there's an intentionality around well-being. And that means physical well-being. That means the mental and emotional well-being, which is kind of my, my expertise area, financial well-being, as well as environmental well-being, like the environment or the corporate culture, as it were. So all the things where folks are, they're getting it in, they're engaged, they're happy, and they're healthy as that's happening.
Yeah. And when you break all those things down, at work, which well-being solutions are you seeing like don't quite work?
Out of all of them, because I think I mentioned physical, mental, emotional, financial, and environmental. Folks have seen, I think some folks have experienced breakdowns in all of them over these last 2 years. Some folks say, my financial's good, but my physical is I don't even want to talk about it. Or folks say, you're physically, I'm good.
Yeah.
Financially, I'm great. The environment at work is actually okay, but my mental, emotional, my inner state, it's a little rough. So it can be different ones for different people. But the mental, emotional, meaning the inner state,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of both individual professional employees and organizations struggle with, because we haven't, had to been forced to or invited to deal with it in these last 2 years. His made us have to.
Yeah, and I'm gonna show a graphic on this next one, man, because this you have a really great graphic here of what gets in the way, Nasir.
Mm. And again, if there's anyone that's watching this either live or that's watching it as a replay, I'll ask the question before I tap in and
Mm-hmm.
answer your question, Lawrence. But I'll pose that question to folks that are listening. What gets in the way in your experience as a professional? What is the thing that prevents HR professionals or their organizations from actually optimizing that well-being aspect of total rewards? And then
Mm-hmm.
just pause and see what comes up. So if anyone's live, they can tap in, or if you're watching a replay, pause and see what comes up when you sit with that answer. The if I had to answer that, I would say it's stress. Like if I had to say what's the single biggest barrier, it's stress. And that's showing up, in the environment externally and on the internal environment, meaning, a lot of folks are carrying stress in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that's the biggest barrier that I've seen specifically these last couple of years.
Hmm. And there's and I gotta show this graphic, y'all. I'm sorry. I like it like Nasir put this deck together. And when you think about just what you were saying, these barriers, when you think about workplace stress, you see it as kind of that crisis versus the normal kind of stresses. What could break that down for us?
Thank you for putting that up. I think it does an excellent job of just visually showing what we all know in our own experience. Meaning, if you're working, you're balancing work, family, career, family, friends, then if you're alive, then you're going to experience some level of stress. And some of that is normal. Some of that's to be expected. Some of that is productive, what they call quote unquote eustress or positive stress.
Mm-hmm.
So there's certain stress, or stressors that are positive or productive. So we just call that normal stress. But the last 2 years have, brought on what I call crisis stress. And sometimes it's helpful to even pause and let the body experience what that means. Meaning, if you pause and just acknowledge over the last 2 years, we've been through or experienced what once in 100-year global pandemic. We've got all types of social changes. We've got economic disruptions. We've got people experiencing disruptions in our work, and life routines. All of those things are crisis stress events. So that graph is really just to acknowledge that if a person's experiencing some stress, whether that's, in their thinking, in their emotions, in their routines, there is a reason for it. And sometimes it's helpful to have someone give context or a container to help hold it. Because if not, what I've seen oftentimes is either individual professional employees or companies start to just internalize it and personalize and think, well, it's just me. I must just be off and not on my game and not realize that there's a reason you're experiencing what you're experiencing, because this isn't normal stress. These are sometimes crisis levels.
And I know as somebody kind of in the professional coaching space and working as an emotional wellness coach, what I was hearing inside of there in this area is there's levels to this,
Mm-hmm.
and as individuals, how do we get good at identifying where we're at?
Mm-hmm. There are lots of different ways to do that. One of them, out of many, is what I like to call the head, heart, hands approach. Head, heart, hands. Head just meaning pause for a moment and tap in and find out what's going on at head level or with your thinking. The heart level meaning pause for a second and identify, get clear on what's happening with your feelings or your emotions. And then the hands level meaning pause and get clear on what's happening with your actions or your behavior, because all three are linked. It's really easy for me to say, well, what I really just need to do is this, the hands action. But if we don't acknowledge or pay attention to the head and the heart piece, then the hands piece it either isn't going to happen or won't be sustainable. So that head, heart, hands approach is just one way of being aware of and just beginning to start to manage or even reduce the stress that you may be feeling. So sometimes I'll, take either, individual client, a team, or organization through practices where we're getting them to intentionally slow down and ask, what's going on in my head right now? What thoughts am I thinking? You don't have to judge them. You don't have to change them, but just be aware of them. If the thought is, okay, I got to get this done. I got that deliverable coming up. Then that head is going to also show up in your heart, meaning you might be experiencing maybe some little bit of stress, maybe some overwhelm, maybe some tension. And then even to say or to ask, wow, well, how is that showing up in my body? Oh, my breathing's a little bit more constricted. Or, I got a little bit of tightness, in my shoulder that I don't normally experience. And then all that's going to show up or impact what we do or don't do, or how we do what we do, which is the hand side. So that head, heart, hands approach is kind of one, method of kind of getting folks to slow down and just find out what's present, and then we can work with it from there.
Man, you just buzzed people's head to the white meat. Because if you think about what's happened over the last several years, and particularly the introduction of the virtual space, it didn't normally when we were in person, I was able to breathe walking to my next meeting from wherever floor I was on, riding an elevator or whatever. But in this new reality, what you just described is an immensely important exercise, because we're going into back-to-backs. We're going into back-to-back meetings. And so for us, if there is no pause to check in on what just happened, you end up taking whatever that was into this next thing.
Yeah.
And that could be a workplace meeting. That could be a family conversation. That could be an interaction with your kids or whatever. And when you think about how all of this goes from less stress and transitions into something like achieving more success, why is that important?
It is it's important, or it's even critical, because that's the way our bodies work. Our bodies are designed, if you look at the operator's manual, our bodies are designed to, carry some stress, but then to let it go, or even to have maybe, a high level of stress, but then let it go. They're not designed for crisis stress levels chronically or consistently. That's when things start to break down. So it's important because, one, that's how this is designed, and it's going to show up in how we lead, our projects and deliverables, how we're able to execute on things, our ability to think creatively or come up with creative solutions to real world problems. All of the things that we want sometimes for ourselves or are demanded from us as organizational leaders, all of the good stuff that we want, we have to kind of make sure that we're not being hijacked by too much stress in order to be able to deliver on that. So again, if I go to someone and say, this is the deliverable, but I have no context for what's going on in terms of their stress levels or the stress levels of an environment, then I could be setting myself or my team up to fail. So it becomes critical to, as you say, kind of pause and have a safe, effective, structured, and powerful way to kind of either manage the stress or to reduce it.
Yeah, and there's some statistics that I'm going to share on the screen, and if you could talk to kind of what these mean to the workplace, and I know can't really blow it up too big, but what are people seeing right now in this year?
You're looking at the stats or the one prior to
the stats. Yeah.
Gotcha. So the stats, I don't know if folks are seeing it, but is that when you look at the data around workplace stress and the impact it's having on the bottom line, it's clear, it's sobering. As I say, if there's too much stress or it's prolonged periods of it, then that overwhelms the body or the nervous system, and it directly disrupts workplace engagement, the thing that all companies want or are trying to optimize. You look at some of the research, it shows us that most adults, 87%, right now, this is in a study that just happened, say, I feel like there's been a constant stream of crises over the last 2 years. That's a study that just happened, came out within the last month and a half from APA. 7 in 10 adults report that they're feeling overwhelmed. So most professionals that you meet are experiencing some level of stress. Also, when you look at the impact on the bottom line, 217 million days of missed work are due to mental health conditions at work. So in America, 217 missed days, or 217 million, excuse me, days of missed work. And if your person says, well, what does that mean in terms of the bottom line? Like, help just bottom line it for me. What that equates to is $17 billion that's lost by companies, organizations, or employers every single year due to mental health conditions that aren't adequately addressed for the workplace. So the inner ends up impacting the outer.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And of course, we got people chiming in with just echoing some of the things you've been saying up to this point, and that good stress producing that, that most creative mind. Appreciate you on that one, Chad. But that thing that you just said there, man, again, you get these leaders at the top or throughout an organization. We need to stay focused on the goals. We need to stay focused on the goals. But you start talking about, okay, you push that goal if you want to, but if we don't have nobody to help us with it, because of where they're at physically, mentally, emotionally, and all the rest of these things, then what are we really talking about? Because understanding we're facets of being squishy. And if I'm off, then in my life, everything's off. And so how do you, and what are you doing to help leaders not just create programs or check a box on, okay, helping people woo-saw, but what are you doing to support your clients and leaders in this space?
The excellent question. I say it's twofold. You can explain something, but there's a difference between explaining it and experiencing it. So, we can go through laying out the business case and the bottom line of the impact on people, productivity, outcomes, results, efficiency, effectiveness, engagement. And then we can have that conversation where we're talking about it, talking about mental wellness at work. And it's a great conversation to have. We can ask the right questions, meaning asking corporate leaders, how many more missed days, how much more increased stress, and how much more lost profit can your organization afford? And let the question, let the answers come from that. Or we can ask people, what's the impact if HR professionals do nothing? Like if we put our heads in the sand, does the problem go away or does it worsen? So we can have that conversation and talk about mental wellness. But again, explaining it doesn't necessarily mean experiencing it. So talking about mental wellness isn't the same as actually practicing mental wellness. And one of my I guess, approaches or things I've come to is just the reality that in order to actually get better at mental wellness, specifically as an organization or shifting the culture, you actually have to practice mental wellness. Meaning it can't be only the one and done, talk or speaker that came in and talked about mental wellness briefly. It doesn't mean that isn't, there's no benefit or that it shouldn't happen, but it's inadequate to actually shifting the culture. Actually doing it or practicing mental wellness is key. So like I said, it isn't just explaining it, but it's experiencing it. And what I like to do is to sometimes actually take, after we've gone through the head piece of explaining it, to take folks through the heart and hands piece and actually sometimes do a practice that is aimed at literally in the moment, kind of helping them to reduce a little bit of stress and take a little edge off. Because once you experience it, it's like, ooh, I like that. I might want some more of that. And I think my people might benefit from some more of that. So sometimes it's actually taking people through some actual in the moment mental wellness practices.
I love that. I love that. And I know for as a practitioner, you have a tool and a resource that you're developing.
I do.
What you got?
The I call it the ABCs of reducing stress. The ABCs of reducing stress, meaning let's take it back to basics and just make sure that it's simple, it's powerful, and it's effective. So the ABCs are what I call awareness, breath, and connection. Awareness, breath, and connection. What I'll sometimes do is you can do it, quickly, or we can, it's one of those things you can take your time with. For the interest of this, we'll go through it relatively quickly, but it literally is walking groups through the ABCs where we get them to kind of just pause and kind of start by just saying, hey, in this moment, give yourself permission to take one or two or even three of the deepest breaths that you've taken today. And even just doing that sometimes gets a person to maybe slow down just a little bit or do a little bit of a pause. And then once we start to get, folks to pause a little bit, sometimes check in with what's going on in the nervous system, then we'll take them through the ABC, meaning we'll kind of ask them, where's your attention or your awareness right now? What thoughts, feelings, or even direct sensations do you notice or do you experience? After we do that, sometimes we'll take them into the B, where we start to ask them about the breath and ask the question, can you be aware of your breath just in this moment? And if you can, what's the quality of your breathing? Meaning, is it strained? Is it shallow? Is it deep? Are you holding it? And then also asking, can you notice anything, either any constriction, any tension or holding patterns, or any areas where there's maybe a little bit of relaxation, in the body? And how do you know? And walking them through that. And then finishing off with the C, which is the connection. And again, we're going through it kind of quickly now, but, asking the question, is there any connection between my attention, my awareness, my body, and my breathing? And what, if anything, do I notice? And how is that connection showing up in this exact moment? So I know we're doing it kind of briefly now, but it's on the fly process to actually intentionally get the body to get people to check in, see what's going on in here, and then to be able to slowly reduce stress if needed, so that they can get done what they got to get done.
Oh,
I see
man,
Chad in the chat too. Thank you, Chad.
I love it, man. Well, bro, and again, I told y'all this was gonna be tip of the iceberg. We can go for another 2 hours. And like you said, and you heard Nasir, and so I don't know if y'all noticed, y'all heard his voice start to do the calm app cadence. Y'all heard that, didn't y'all? Y'all heard that. So y'all hashtag replay those last several minutes when he was breaking down the ABCs, because I'm over here on mute like,
yeah.
that sea of connection lock me in. I'm like, yeah, you drop that. It's about checking in. Yeah, I was like, ooh, yeah, that's it right there. Nasir, man, I want people to connect with you because every single organization on the planet needs Nasir. It needs your platform and your product that you have, that you're developing, to tap in and help people just be better at checking in on themselves and others. And so for everybody out there across the interwebs, how can they connect with you?
The best way is to I don't know if there's a QR code that'll come up, but the best way is to just connect with me on LinkedIn, because if you find my LinkedIn profile, then that connects to the Mental Wellness Toolkit, which is the corporate wellness solution that I created and then it's launching. And the Mental Wellness Toolkit ends up allowing companies to experience what I call the stress less meeting, meaning people inside of the organization learn these simple, powerful, effective stress reduction tools, and then they are able to help lead what we call stress less meetings inside their organization, in person, virtually. So when you instead of looking at the calendar and saying, "Oh goodness, I got another meeting. Oh, here's another meeting, a meeting after a meeting," so look on your calendar and to see, oh, it's the stress less meeting. It's 30 minutes or less. I don't have to talk about what's going on. I just get a chance to go in and experience some simple, powerful stress reduction practices. And, it's kind of corporate appropriate or organizationally approved. So if a person reaches out via my LinkedIn, then they'll get links to the mental wellness toolkit, the stress less meeting, and would love to have a conversation.
Well, I definitely appreciate you, sir. And again, our audience out there is shouting you out, showing appreciation as well. Y'all connect with Nasir across his platforms. Be on the lookout for that e-course. Hopefully, we had the opportunity to scan the code. I know he's probably going to drop a post after this. Y'all, I'm Lawrence Henderson, VP of Plans Professional Development. Connect with us across social media so that you do not get left behind when it comes to our programming that's coming up that you want to tap into over the next several months, our partnerships and all the rest of those things. So connect well, be well, and we'll see you all soon. ABCs, we're out.
Thank you.